G'day, beard brethren, shillers, fuckheads, and just all-round legends. Welcome to a very special episode of Two Beards, a podcast on Wrexham AFC. The podcast all about Wrexham from us Aussies. I'm your host, Rousey. That is Adrian. Mate, how are you going?
Yeah, going well, mate. It's been a awesome weekend in terms of Wrexham news and wins and adventures and just all round good times. And now we've got something even better.
Oh, we do. Coming up just after this short ad break. But first, we got some housekeeping to get out of the way, and you know what it is. If you like this video,
sucked in,
share, subscribe, become a fuckhead for $5 a month. Twobeardsmedia.com, link tree in the description down below. If you're wondering what our fuckheads are, it's a patron fans only program. Gives you access to fans only Discord with you, Adrian, and me. And there's plenty of other fans in there, but we'll get to that shortly with our shout outs. But yes, you'll get access to the Discord, you'll get discounted merch from our merch store, you'll get giveaways and shout outs and plenty more.
100%. And speaking on those shout outs, we've got some amazing people part of this program now. We've got Sarah, we've got Will, we've got Chris, we've got John, we've got Aaron, we've got Ryan, and we've got Jake. And I think I mentioned Chris, but if I haven't, Chris as well. So what I love about what we've got now is it's just ever growing. We've now our most recent fuckhead is none other than Sir Wrexham Texan the Third, the man who goes by Jake, the Wrexham Texan, great bloke. Even better, just even better fuckhead. And he just fits in like a glove, and it's great to have him a part of it. So welcome, and thank you for joining the program. It's now a big bunch. I like to think we can eventually, put a football side together, and one day we'll run out on the pitch with some Two Beards jerseys, I reckon, one day.
Hashtag United or something.
Yeah. We'll just hire out the race course, I reckon. And we'll do like a match with maybe with our guests. Who knows?
Yeah, who knows? So just with those shout outs again. Obviously, we've got Chris, Aaron, Jake, John, Ryan, and Sarah, and me, Rousey, and Adrian. We're all fuckheads. We all love you guys. So yeah, if you want to join. But right now, we've really got to get into this because this is going to probably be a little bit of a lengthy episode. But we are crossing over. That's right. We're are crossing no longer the border. The Two Beards for this podcast. This is none other than Beardheart.
Classic.
That's right. We're none other than Beardheart. That means after this, we are going to welcome Mark Griffiths and Bill Long from Dragonheart. And this is the first stage of the ultimate crossover. Let's go. Righto. G'day, listeners. I'm your host of Dragonbeards for today, Rousey. And we have Adrian, and we have Mark, and we have Bill. This has got to be the most epic crossover we've ever done.
Yes.
You wait and see. We'll spoil it, won't we, Bill?
Yeah, it's always the way.
So we've come off a very monumental run, a really good weekend as well. We were just we want to get into this. We want to talk about the Notts County game, which was phenomenal. And I remember actually when the team first came out, I'm just kind of like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
It's like, what the fuck is this? We
were texting each other and we were just shitting bricks. We were just like, oh no, this is how it ends. Like this is not a good sign. And God, I'm so glad we were wrong. Did you guys feel that way?
Do you know what? I didn't, but I could sort of see that there was a chance that it could go really wrong. I think one thing that Parky gets a lot of criticism for, which I mean, I don't think he should have any criticism considering how well we play all the time, but is that he's tactically inflexible and that he will stick to the same team and stuff like that. And then the one time he shows a lot of flexibility by selecting a completely different team, everyone loses their collective minds, don't they? They're like, what's going on?
What's happening? Everybody panic.
But
What about you, man?
I feel like I'm sort of in a parallel universe when I watch Wrexham, because Bill's right. People say stuff like that. And it's just like, how are you saying he's inflexible? He's got a system of play that, let's be honest, has worked up to now. So oddly enough, he doesn't want to rip it all up and start again, because that would be the work of an idiot. And then secondly, he is tactically flexible. He uses different types of players within that system. He does shift it around during games. He will bring off a defender, put on a striker, and go to the four at the back, throw in the kitchen sink, insane attack and he'll do that early, which most managers, when they switch to their crazy attacking style, don't do that until it's very, very late. He'll do it after an hour. I think he's incredibly flexible. I think this was an interesting gamble on Saturday, but it was just executed to absolute perfection. It was a treat when we saw what you could see.
I'm resigned to the fact that I'm never going to question Parky ever again. He knows what he's doing. Ever. Like that. I mean, yeah, when I first saw the team and you got midfielders playing as defense, you got defenders playing as wingers, and you just like, when Mendy on the right hand side, and they didn't even start Palmer or Fletcher.
Yeah, that was the
Dolby,
big one for me.
And I know we've been a little bit critical of Dolby recently, but he had a really good game. We were just kind of like, well, this is just like he's got into my stash, I think, because Parky must be fucking high or something.
Yeah, it was something that literally I tweeted out and I said, either this game is either going to prove Parky is an absolute genius, or that he's trying to get paid out by the club because he doesn't want to resign and not get the pay. He's just like, oh, I'm going to hand it in, and this is the team that I'm doing for it. And I was so wrong. But it's so funny because we did the podcast last week and both of us predicted wins. Like, we were like, no, we'll beat Notts. I predicted 2-0, which got it right. But if you told me that when the line out came out, I would have said, sorry, mate, I'm not going to get that right today, because it just didn't seem, it just seemed, especially with Tunnicliffe going down in the warm up, that maybe there was a bit of panic stations, but that just didn't happen. When that news broke, I know because I found out from you guys, but like, what was the go with you guys when you hear that kind of news?
Well, in the grounds, it was interesting because basically, convoluted, but basically we were supposed to be in a very crowded front row of a big press box. Behind us were lots of empty seats. So we shifted back. And then the front row was all the BBC guys. And I could hear them. We were like doing something else, but I could hear them saying, well, who's on the bench then? Well, who's on the bench? And somebody had pointed out to them that Tunnicliffe had gone off hurt. So I was sort of, hang on a second. Are you trying to say there's a problem here? And yeah, that's how we found out.
Wow.
But we went to air first with it, so I'm proud of us.
Yes,
we broke the story. And but yeah, it was just, you sort of think, well, okay, so he has done this before, Parkinson, but not necessarily successfully. At Chesterfield, 2 seasons ago, he tried a similar thing and it didn't work out. But you could sort of see exactly what he was looking to do. But then you're thinking, right, but then the one actual out-and-out specialist centre-back who's going to be in the middle of all this, well, he's not even playing now. And a guy who thought he wasn't playing and has just come back from missing games for a while and has a bit of a dodgy knee, he's going to just start the game with no warm-up. Wow. It made it feel even more extreme. But fair play. You could see what he was looking to do. It's what he did against County last season when we beat them 3-2. The idea of having quick centre-backs on the sides that will come out, pressure there, 2 attacking midfielders, stop the flow to Macaulay Langstaff. You can see exactly, and then Dolby's quick because Notts County are really open to the break. You could see exactly what he was looking to do. But you thought, it's a bold move to try and do it, though, isn't it? Fair play to him. He had the courage of his convictions.
I love that. And I think the best part about when that happened was, I was telling Chris, I was like, it felt like in my head, I just pictured like Tozer in the crowd, just having a meat pie, just relaxing, and he's just like, he gets like Parky's like, right, get out here. And he's like, all right. And he just spikes the pie into the ground and then runs on. And, he's just got his kit underneath ready to go. And like, has that happened, Bill? Have you seen that before? Because I can't recall, at least from my football memory in terms of A-League and obviously my years, a couple of years of Wrexham. Has anyone come straight from not the bench, but like not in the squad to go straight into the lineup that close to a game in your memory?
I've seen players go from being on the bench into the squad, and then someone who wasn't in the squad, someone who wasn't on the bench going onto the bench. But I don't think I've ever seen it where, you're swapping toes with a Tunnicliffe like that, where it's someone off the bench. That's not something I can place, to be honest. How about you, Mark? It's not.
No, same as you. I can't think of someone who actually wasn't even warming up going into the team. I have. Yeah, you do see sometimes we'll get injured in warm-ups and somebody has to replace them. You're dead right. What it does remind me of, though, is, like I say, the fact that Tozer actually didn't really warm up much because he didn't think he was playing reminds me of a horrible game when Brian Hughes was manager, and we went to Ebbsfleet United, and they were having problems with their owner. And he hadn't played the players for a while. So the players, they had been sort of like bubbling under and people knew there was problems. An hour before kickoff, a ragged piece of paper was handed round the press box. It was a statement from the Ebbsfleet players saying they weren't going to play unless he promised before 2:45 they'd be getting paid for that week. And I'm sitting there thinking, on the one hand, good on them for trying to stand up for the rights. Don't mess us around. But on the other hand, I've just spent 120 quid on a return train from Germany. I spent all day getting here. I'd quite like to see a footy match, please. And likewise, I'm sure the Wrexham players have travelled all the way up. So basically, we warmed up. They didn't, because they heard the owner seemed to be sitting firm and saying, I'm not giving into this. So we fully warmed up. They didn't come out. It was the most weird sight. And some sort of deal was brokered with about 10 minutes to kick off, believe it or not. So we didn't really know until the players got into the tunnel. We didn't know if there'd be a game or not. They came out, and you're thinking, well, this is great. We're going for promotion. We were about fourth in the table. They were right down the bottom, and they did get relegated. You're thinking, brilliant. We're better than them, and they haven't even warmed up. We're going to destroy them. We were 3-0 down at halftime.
Oh, Lord.
Oh, boy.
We fought back. We did a proper insane, I was about throwing the kitchen sink. We really did a crazy kitchen sink thing where we just gave up defending and just hurled ourselves forwards. Got it back to 3-2. One of our centre forwards was unlucky. I felt sorry for him. He got this weird tangle with the Ebbsfleet keeper who sort of came out with the ball and then lost it. And Oswald, he was standing there 6 yards out. There was no one behind him. If he just back-heeled it, he'd scored, but he didn't realise. And he was like trying to hold it up with all this madness going on. I was like, just touch it. Just touch it, and we've equalised. And of course he didn't. And we let in another goal, lost 4-2. But yeah, so warming up might be overrated.
If it was me, I'll be running out on the field, pie in hand, squirting my sauce into the pie.
Yeah.
He'll be like, hey, I'm coming.
I've got
the beer
this
down by the goal.
Just, you guys, I mean, this is I don't know if it's public knowledge, but it's definitely Australian culture at its finest. When Shane Warne was around and playing cricket, there was the game, I think it was state cricket, but it might have been the national side, but basically he was sitting in the crowd basically sinking beers and he was like on standby, and then someone got an injury and they were like, Shane, you got to come on. He's like, oh, right, sweet, and just handed the rest of his beers to his mate, and then took 5 for or something. Like, it's just one of those things. Like, maybe training is overrated. Maybe it's just a mindset. You just got to be ready for it. And I feel like Tozer was ready for it.
Is that the game that he had the cigar in his mouth as well?
Yeah, I feel like it was too. Yeah.
Well, isn't it one of the earliest? W.G. Grace, one of the early English cricketers, supposedly stayed out all night playing cards and drinking, and then went out and scored a century in a test match, supposedly.
Of course.
But I
Of
just
course.
very briefly, I don't think I said this to you last time. I do remember interviewing an ex-Wrexham player who arrived at the ground, thought he was playing. They said, "No, you're not." So he went down into town and spent an hour getting absolutely plastered, came back up, came through the players' entrance. This is in the late 50s, early 60s, I guess.
I was about to say, you're not talking about Luke Armstrong, are you?
I am not. No.
Poor bugger.
Yeesh.
Poor
Not a
bugger.
player.
So he walks in to the just to go and watch the match, and the coach is saying, "Where the hell have you been? Somebody's got injured in the warm-up. You're playing," because there were no subs in those days. So he's absolutely smashed out of his mind. They stuck him under a shower for a bit. They kept him away from the manager, who wouldn't have been amused. Sent him out on the pitch, and he said he couldn't remember much about the match. The only clear memory he had were his two mates we'd been to the pub with their jaws down to the floor when they saw him on the pitch. And also he had a vague recollection that he kicked the other side's goalkeeper at some point.
Drunk football. Hell yeah. Why do I feel like Bill might have something to do with drunk football in his past?
No. Actually, the only time I played on the race course was like for a charity match. I say the only time as if it's like a regular occurrence. They used to do a yearly. Mark, you might be able to correct me on this. Then they used to do like a yearly tournament where you could pay for your team to be in. And it was during the trust days when they needed the money. So you'd have like 10 teams or 12 teams or whatever paying, and each player was 50 quid. So that used to be a regular thing. A lot of people got on the race course then, but mine was like a charity game through an old school I used to work in. It's actually the school that Millie Tippin goes to.
Right.
So they had the North Wales learning disability team played the Wrexham Stewards in a match, but I think they wanted a few. I say ringers lightly because I'm absolutely awful at football, but I think they just wanted a few people from the school sort of being involved just in case the stewards were starting to put 5 or 6 past them, which didn't happen. We won actually, but there was me and about 3 or 4 other lads got on the pitch, and I don't know why. Maybe this was like 6 or 7 years ago, but I went drinking the night before, and I was fucking hungover, and I really don't know. Looking back, there must have been some reason. I can't think what it is, but there must have been some reason because I wouldn't have ruined that experience lightly. But I was rough. Got about 20 minutes on the pitch, got hooked. No surprise, really, because I was probably in an absolute state. I mean, it was rolling subs as well, so they weren't following the rules completely. It was just a case of my only experience on the race course is being still a little bit drunk from the night before.
There is a member of our commentary team who has played proper drunk football, and that's Andy Parkinson. I mean, the nicest guy on earth and the calmest guy on earth, and yet he has done it in the most impressive fashion possible. Because he did Operation Rally, which is a thing like sort of when you're around university age, take a gap year sort of thing, and you go and you help. You do sort of bushcraft and stuff like that, and then help local projects. And he's actually, after doing it, trained in it. So he's done really interesting stuff. I shouldn't waste your time with like building lion-proof fences around villages in Namibia and different cool things. He leads people trekking across the jungle and across the desert. He's a talented guy, and he keeps quiet about it. But when he went as a student, they went to Siberia. And they were building a school and doing different things. And, the hospitality was a big part of it. And the local people wanted to thank them and play a game of football against them. But they stitched the students up big style so that they all got on the coach to where they were going to play this local team. And the coach driver explained to them that you have lots of local religious sites. And every time you pass them, you've got to toast it with vodka. So he's driving along, he gets a mile along, and that hill is a holy site. So they all get vodka, they all neck it. He goes another 2 minutes, that tree, that's a holy site. All right, also vodka, neck it. And of course, they make about 15 stops. And by the time they arrive at the game, he said they could barely get off the coach. And he didn't know what the score was, but it was definitely double figures. But so he's done it. But I don't think he recalls that very clearly either.
Me and Adrian the other day. I don't know if you guys saw the Matildas, Aussie Matildas versus Iran game, and
So they
I
battered
said,
with big score, wasn't
well, no, the Philippines game, that was the 8-0 one.
8-0, yeah. In front of
Sam
60,000
Kerr
people. Crazy.
Yeah, Sam Kerr got a hat trick, and Casey Ford got a hat trick, but oh, the Iran game, I came up with a thing. I'm like, Adrian, gotta have a drinking game. Every time a player just lies down, you take a shot.
Yep. Because the tactic was with Iran, and it's completely fair. The Australian women's team is, I think they're ranked 11 in the world. They made a semi-final of a World Cup. They're a top-notch outfit. Like, they've got players from Arsenal, Man City, all of these big, women's clubs. Anyways, the Iran team obviously doesn't have that. So what was happening was it got to 2-0, and what happened was they just kept feigning injury and just falling down, which is completely fair. But it was genuine. It was getting a bit obvious. Like, it was just like every 2 seconds someone was got a hamstring. And then when, I think, was it 17 minutes added time? I can't remember. It was something silly, 11, maybe 17 minutes. It was around that mark. It was crazy. And I was like, he's right. If we had done a drinking game, we'd be dead by half time, because like it's just one of those things.
No joke. The goalkeeper actually was about to take a corner, sat on the floor, and then lay down.
Yeah.
It's like, what the fuck?
What is that? But it's a
Can you
smart
imagine
tactic.
if a Conquo did that?
Oh, it was a smart tactic. And honestly, like, I'm surprised we haven't seen it up until this point, because like when they played the Philippines, it was 8-0. It was open scoring. If I was the Philippines, I would have done that tactic. I would have been like, right, it's 4-0 at this point. I'm going to just start falling down, because I'm not copping anymore. But fair play to the Philippines. They just kept playing their open style and didn't work out for them, but good on them.
Actually,
Bill,
question
do you
without
remember
notice.
Geisley?
I'll give this to both Bill and Mark. So we'll go with Bill first. Do you feel that them stomping down on time wasting is actually working? Because it seems like there's still a hell of a lot of it.
Yeah.
No, no, it's not working at all. It's for me, it's the inconsistency. So when we played Sutton the other day, it was 6 minutes added.
Yeah.
And I was just like, the amount of time that they spent kicking the ball out. At the start of the season, it would have been like 10 or 11, 12 minutes or whatever.
Yeah.
And look, I as a football fan, if I saw Wrexham playing, I don't know, maybe if we got some kind of revenge rematch against Sheffield United and we're 2-0 up with 5 minutes to go, I'm all for the time wasting. Do you know what I mean? Do it like whatever it takes to win. So it's no criticism of like the Sutton players or the Sutton management. You do what you think is going to give you advantage, but it's on the officials to turn around and say, no, you can't do that. This should have been about the keeper definitely should have been booked, and there was about 4 or 5 of their players that probably could have been booked for time wasting as well. But it just takes a referee with a bit of balls just to turn around and go, yeah, do you know what? You're taking the piss now. Here's a yellow card. Next person who does it, here's a yellow card, and go from there. But it seems, I don't know if it's just me, Mark. It seems to be working quite well at the start of the season, but it's like the officials have like collectively forgotten that they're supposed to be stamping it out now.
Yeah.
But Bill, I mean, you've hit the nail on the head. It happens every year. Every year, they get some bee in their bonnet over the summer, and they decide, oh, there's going to be an initiative. Oh, yeah, we're going to stamp this out, and then you'll get some really extreme decision making by referees for about 3-4 weeks, and then we just all forget about it and carry on as before. I mean, let's be honest as well. I mean, I don't think it's worked at all, for the simple reason that refs don't add enough time on. And I don't necessarily blame them, because the moment they add on more than about 4 minutes, they get grief from the crowd, they get grief from the media. So, there's an incentive to not do that. Some games, I bet you could add 20 minutes on at the end of it, to be realistic, but they'd never do that because they get crucified, no matter if they were right or wrong. So, no, I think if they really wanted to stamp down on it, they should encourage referees to just give yellow cards for time wasting a lot more and see what people do then.
This may be my sadistic mind coming into play here, but Paul Mullins yellow on the weekend, I felt like if he knew he was going to get a yellow, like he was in the perfect position when he was going down, just to nut shot, fucking boom.
Yeah.
Like if you're going to go down for something and you're going to get a yellow, and
Go down swinging.
Go down swinging. And if you look at his foot, it's right in between. What's his
Jones.
name? Jones.
It was Jody,
right in between his legs, and he caught Jones's legs on the way down, and it looked like he sort of played a kick into it a little bit. But I was just like, mate, you got a perfect nut shot lined up. Just go for it. You're going to get rubbed out next game. Just fucking do it.
Just do it. It doesn't matter at this point. Yeah, no, I'm with you. It was a weird one. Like, what about, like, I guess we'll get both your opinions on this one, because I saw it in the real time. It was like, oh, what do they do to Mullen? Like, I'm like, on the defense. Oh, poor Mullen's been, gets brutalized every match. And then all of a sudden I watch the replay. I'm like, yeah, we're lucky he didn't get in further trouble, to be honest. Is that what you guys felt?
Yeah. That's how I at first I just thought, well, has he trodden on Mullen to make him react like that? But you look at it again and you think, I mean, don't get me wrong, I feel the gods looked down on that and thought Jody Jones should get booked in this game. He's falling over all the time. He's faking that he's been fouled. He's hit the deck so many times. He's rolling around in agony all the time, and then he pops straight back up. He's not in pain. He ought to be booked. And so we will pass judgments by getting him a yellow card for the one incident where he did nothing wrong. Mullen tackled him. Mullen kicked him. Okay, he exaggerated it a bit, but what the hell he got booked for, Jody Jones there? But yeah, I agree. Mullen, the linesman's right there.
Are you saying, Mark, that he probably should have had a nut shot?
If he's gonna,
no, because he only got a yellow, and I think, I suppose, because Jones wouldn't make any more of a fuss of it.
Yeah,
you know what? I'm wondering whether you've stumbled on something very, very smart there. Very well played. Yeah, maybe so. Yeah.
It's how Chris plays football, to be honest. He just comes out swinging and like he's just like goes for a tackle, but he's just like putting his arms back and like trying to grab him. But that's funny you say that, because Bill, when you were watching the game and you're seeing players like Jody Jones, you're seeing players, I don't know. It's hard when we're at home, watching it on the telecast. It's hard to tell how often it's happening, but do you find that it happens a lot against us where, I don't know, maybe I'm talking out of turn here, but is there a bias, do you think, where people just assume, they're feigning injury, then it's proper? Whereas with Wrexham, I feel like Ollie Palmer is a good example. He gets kind of pushed around in the box. Mullen gets dragged down in the box, and they don't really give it. I don't know, maybe I'm being biased here, but do you sense that that's something that comes into play?
It's a tough one. We've had games this season, like the crew game particularly. I felt like every challenge we made, we got a yellow card, and every challenge they made, the ref just kind of ignored it. I'd like to think in a perfect world it's not a thing, but we've got a lot of spotlight on us. Not every referee is going to like the Wrexham story. They might not be like overly biased, but it might be like a subconscious bias that, oh well, I'm not giving this Wrexham crowd any satisfaction by giving the opposition a yellow. Maybe I don't know. It's kind of weird when you've got a target on your back, isn't it? Because I think we have, to be honest, at the moment.
Yeah. Because I felt that, like, I think that's something I've seen, and I'm like, I hate being that one-eyed supporter who's like, oh, everyone hates us. Oh, woe is us. I hate being that person. But sometimes I watch it and I'm like, hold on, what? Mullen just got pulled out of the box. Nothing got called. James Jones the other week, tapped someone fell over and he got a yellow. And I'm like, all right, hold on. Like, where's the consistency? And I just feel like that's another thing that, like you said, there's no consistency in the time wasting, but there's also, I feel like, not a consistency on what's considered a yellow card anymore.
Well, his yellow at the weekend was ridiculous. I didn't watch the game live because we can't get it live in the UK, can we? So I listened to Mark and Che commentating. I've seen the highlights since, but the James Jones yellow, honest to goodness, like, what's he supposed to do? Like, just make his legs disappear?
Yep.
The lad zipped the ball off him straight away, and his tactic of trying to get Jones a yellow card has worked perfectly. It's that baffled me. Fair enough, call it back, maybe have a word with him, but it wasn't a yellow. He's not intentionally got in his way. He's just not got superhuman speed. So I don't know.
Exactly.
you'll
No, I'm
find
with
he
you.
has, but I mean, I just think that in the 90s, that was a common thing, getting someone the yellow card by doing that, and refs got wise to it. And I can't remember the last time I've seen a ref actually give a yellow when a player's blatantly kicked it against somebody. They usually just tell them to take, like you say, take it again. They don't give yellows. So that was dreadful. And Mike, the ref, was immediately on saying, yeah, that's really bad refereeing. But as well, Mike, the ref, is going to be doing a shirt pulling one for Dragonheart this week, a shirt pulling video, because, like you say about Palmer and Mullin, where is it a foul? Where isn't it a foul? We've had this in the Premier League this weekend when Man City got a penalty, when Rodri gets pulled back by Højbjerg, and he's got his hand on his chest, and Rodri goes down and makes a meal of it a bit. And part of me says, yeah, that's legit. Someone grabbed me in the box, so I'm going to make a meal of it so the ref can see it. But another part of me says, I mean, sometimes you see blatantly obvious shirt pulling and it's not given. But for what it's worth, though, on the question of us being badly done by, I'm dull like this. I don't think we are. I suspect all football fans have that sort of biased view.
Yeah, right.
Every football fan feels hard done against. We've had some poor decisions, but we've had some good ones as well. Some very generous ones, should I say? I don't really think that it's anything other than just a dumb look of football and how refs see things.
I think it's a sad indictment of the quality of refereeing in League Two that we're even having to have these discussions. I know it still happens at the top of the game, but you come to this league thinking we're going to have a good jumping quality of referees, and then I read it on Twitter or somewhere. Someone say, well, actually, the referee pool is half the National League and half League Two refs, basically, isn't it? So they draw from the better referees in the National League will referee League Two games, and no Paul Marsden, hopefully, but everyone else, that sort of gets drawn in. Yeah, I don't know. I feel sorry for refs.
Yeah, they have a hard job.
Nobody wants to be a ref, do they? But they also don't help themselves. So
it's something that we've noticed is exactly what you mentioned. Like, National League, it was that expectation. We were making this step up. We're in the EFL now. In the EFL, we're here. We're here to stay. Let's, we'll have these professional people, and I don't know. I feel like it's almost was worse. I'm like, I kind of miss the National League, when we were getting some of those calls. But it is, you're right. It's a sad indictment on the quality that is there at the moment. But look, it is a hard thing. I mean, it's crossed across however many leagues, and you can have, it's like a player, right? Players can have a good game and refs can have a good game, but also they can have bad games as well. So yeah, I guess that is a hard one. But yeah, I'm definitely that one-eyed supporter lately who's just like, poor Wrexham. Why do they all hate us? Like, we're nothing but nice people, we're just sort of, come on, like. Whereas obviously I can see the other side.
I gotta be honest,
you guys ever witnessed a ref like copping a cheap cheek slapper or something, or a ball to the head and just getting knocked out clean? And what happens in that circumstance? I mean, surely it's happened before.
I went to a game that wasn't Wrexham's level. It was Bangor versus Rhyl. Bangor's a town in the northwest of Wales, and Rhyl's kind of just like on the in between Bangor and Wrexham. But them two are like massive rivals. You're talking Welsh Premier League, so the standard of refereeing is even lower again. There's probably some good refs in that league, but it's still like semi-pro or whatever. A lad tackled someone else. He's ran over to sort of give a card. Looked like he was going for a yellow. Fell over, like completely fell over. He wasn't touched. He's fallen backwards. Thought he got pushed and then got up and changed his mind and give the lad a red card instead. The lad's just on the floor like, what have I done? Like the tackle was bad, but it was only a yellow, and it was hilarious because you could just see that he was embarrassed that he'd fallen over, and the entire like stand that it was in front of, it was right by a load of people were laughing their heads off at him.
Well, I remember when I was about 10, so I caught a Stegosaurus to a match at the racecourse. And it was Wrexham reserves playing at the racecourse. Traditional reserves to play at home. And we had a player who I loved when I was first watching Wrexham called Steve Fox, who was the ultimate extravagant winger. Who he had all the tricks, and if he felt like it, he'd use them. He apparently, I only found out much later on, he was absolutely nuts off the pitch as well. And there are lots of bizarre stories about him. One about him buying an outboard motor for no obvious reason, and he'd been told he had to run it in by sticking it into a bin full of water. And he lost control. He was staying in digs in some old lady's house, and he went in the back garden, filled the bin with water, stuck the outboard motor in, lost control, and was basically sort of flying around the back garden, taking chunks of turf out of it while trying to tame this outboard motor. But that's by the by. But he was that sort of guy, and he'd been dropped to the reserves. He clearly wasn't happy about it. We were playing, again, just shows how football setups change a bit. Our reserves were playing Altringham's first team. So Altringham's first team were playing in the reserve league. And the referee, he was awful. He was really bad. And he kept giving decisions against us. And ultimately Fox, who clearly was stewing all the way through the game and just walking around the pitch being annoyed that he was there in the reserves, got the ball. The ref gave a foul against him. The ref was about 10 yards away from him. And Fox, who could hit the ball really hard, just drilled it into the ref's stomach and knocked him over. And it was just, I mean, the ball was dead. The foul had been given against him. It was clearly deliberate. He was clearly furious and just turned face to ref, bang, nailed it right in the middle of his guts. Ref went flying. And I'm thinking, that could be a red card, couldn't it? The ref didn't do anything. I think he maybe knew how badly he was doing. Maybe he was a little bit nervous. I don't know. But he just free kick and walked away.
Speaking of giving it, though, have you guys, because we don't get the audio from you don't get to hear the players a lot when they're playing, but I so desperately want to know what James McLean is saying when he's giving his sprays to the fans or the opposing fans or or even the refs. You see him going off at the ref. I love James McLean when he does that. What a legend. But do you actually get to hear that when you're on the ground?
Not in a big crowd, do we, Bill?
No, not at home. There have been times when I've heard Wrexham players, but that's you usually have to be in an away end, and if it's quite close to the ground, to the pitch, you might hear it. I remember playing Stockport in the early 2000s, and we had a goalkeeper. What was Carrots' name? He used to be called Carrots because he was ginger.
Jones.
Yes, Michael Jones. Yeah, and he told our captain Darren Ferguson to fuck off because he wouldn't organise properly during a corner. And I think he was out of order actually, because it was a little bit like, no, you need to catch the ball, mate, if it comes towards you. We lost that game 5-2. Yeah, 5-2. So he wasn't exactly having a great game himself. That's probably about the worst I've heard. But you don't really hear it up where I sit anyway.
McLean's probably lucky to be real.
Yeah. I get the occasional opportunity. And I don't think I've ever heard anything out of order. But being on a gantry can give you that opportunity. So you've got yesterday, doing the women's game, for example. I mean, there's only a few people standing on the side of the pitch at my side, but the dugouts are right underneath the gantry. So I can hear them and they can hear me as well, which is so far has gone okay. So you can hear everything then, but you don't hear anything surprising. Sometimes you hear things that give you a head start in the commentary. Like yesterday, I heard someone in the dugout saying to a player, "You're off in 2 minutes." So you know that a sub's coming and you can be ready for it, or But the thing that really sticks in my head about gantries is, for a long time in the 90s, where the Macron stand is now was derelict. It was an old wooden stand, and nobody was allowed in it. And the gantry for the cameras, because I was mostly doing commentary for the videos then, was right in front of it. So you've got no crowd noise at all around you. And stuff that happens here, you can hear perfectly. And the thing that really sticks in my head was that Gary Bennett, legendary goal scorer, was just a master of, I suppose, what Shane Warne would have called mental disintegration. Where, Bennett was a supposedly a firebrand, but I found it to be very controlled in the way that he would go after people. And whenever he was given offside, he was always on the last defender, right on the shoulder, borderline offside or not, always. And he'd get given offside, and he'd trot over to the linesman underneath the gantry, and he wouldn't overstep the line. He wouldn't swear. He wouldn't say anything that would get him into trouble, but he'd just say to the linesman, sort of like, "Oh, unlucky with that call, mate, because you got it wrong, didn't you?" And he'd just keep doing that, slightly more intense every time, until eventually there'd be a ball and he'd look offside and the linesman would keep his flag down because he's been working that linesman, and he scores. And it was like a masterclass just listening to him doing that. It's beautiful.
I don't know,
Love that.
got this image of like James McLean in my head, just in his Irish accent. Right, just give it like you just know when those Irish give it, you're not going to understand a fucking word they're saying, but it's going to be gold.
It's going to be good. He's just, and I think I love about like that kind of thing is, like, you're right. There is an art form to it too. There are some people who get themselves into trouble because they lose it. I would even say Mullen to an extent sometimes can, it's like, hey, just, stop mouthing off, just walk away now, just like let it kind of happen. And then other times he's, got it. But there are people who've just got, like you said, an art form to it. And, the AFL in Aussie rules football here, that there are some really good like sledges, like people, go, hey, if we beat this team, are we going to get half points because they're not that good? Like you hear things like those things come out in the media. And my favorite one was, Chris, I don't know if you remember, but Michael Voss was like a Brisbane Lions legend, and his brother played, and he goes, and he's like on the field, he goes, "Oi," to his brother, and he goes, "Your mum's fucked my dad."
No, you want to hear some of those
so
Aussie
good.
sprays in Aussie rules football. It's just like, wow.
Maintain the Shane Warne theme. My favourite one is, I'm sure you're fully aware of this, his sledging of Daryl Cullinan. Those were the Cullinan, South African batsman, who came into a series in Australia in really spectacular, like, incredible form, the sort of form that a player will get every 10 years, where he was all right, he was a good test batsman, and then suddenly he'd been rattling off hundreds like nobody's business, and he comes to Australia and Warne just destroyed him, and his run of scores in Australia were like 0-1, 0-3, 0-5, he just couldn't get started, and Warne was destroying him, and the sledging was destroying him. He was really affected by it, and Warne was giving him loads. And in the end, Cullinan decided, to fight back. And I don't think this was wise. And so Cullinan, the best sledge he could come up with to go back at Warne, he comes out, and it was picked up on the stump cameras. He says, Warney, why are you so fat? And Shane Warne immediately said, because every time I make love to your wife, she gives me a biscuit.
Oh wow, Mark!
Nice.
Your accent then was flawless. Both the South African and the
South African one.
That's it. Wow.
I literally the only South African accent like that I feel like I could do would be like remember Tony Gregg, like the cricket commentator, the South African one, and he's like, it's very hard off the bat there, very hard, like that, and that's probably pretty much it. Like that's it. Everything else is just like, nah, it's too hard. So well done. We gotta get you to try out all the different accents on Ask Wrexham next week. I reckon we're just gonna tweet you.
I'm clipping that. I'm fucking clipping that. That is just gold.
I was pleased that yesterday during the women's commentary, I can't remember for the life of me how it came up, but something up on Ask Wrexham, and I decided I was going to showcase my New Jersey accent, and I got praise from American fans saying, to be fair, that was a decent Jersey accent. So
what are we going to do to get you guys to do an Aussie accent commentary for at least just one half of football?
I'd do that.
It's just expletives. It's just expletives.
That's the problem. That's the kind of negative feedback we get on Red Passion, Mark. If you did that, they'd be losing their heads on there.
You're right. That's a very good reason to do it.
Have you two ever ventured onto Red Passion?
I've had a look, yeah. Yeah, I'm not
I've only
signed
gone
up,
on
but
there.
I've had a look.
I've gone on there once or twice just because I see Twitter mention it or X mention it, however many times, just saying it's a cesspool of just toxic waste. Like,
the sad thing is to me that if it wasn't for Red Passion, our football club wouldn't exist.
right.
Because the way the fans motivated themselves to fight against potential horrific owners and indeed to save the club, I think was totally down to Red Passion rallying people and giving people a chance to discuss things. There were an awful lot of really rational people on there and knowledgeable people, and it was a great example, that sort of the idea of that hive mind thinking where you've got all sorts of people who can come together and come to the right conclusions. And also, the basis of the trust taking over the club, you had so many capable people who were willing to step in and say, I'm a lawyer. I know the situation here. I can tell you this, and people contributing their skills.
Wow.
But it definitely and sadly is no longer that. And I rarely look on it. At the moment, it's one of those classic message boards now where if someone does try to make a sensible point, they immediately just get abused because people are just there to abuse. And
God knows,
that's a shame.
God knows
because
what they're
there's so
saying
many...
about us on there.
Actually,
I just don't look at it because of that, and as well, one or two people can say nasty stuff. I don't want one or two people's stuff in my head. If I'm honest with you, I'm going to just live my life and do what I want to do. But it's a terrible shame because, like I said, honestly, I think Red Passion is without Red Passion, the club would have gone out of business. Not the time when the show no welcome to Wrexham, the Hamilton stuff, although even then they played a big part. But the second time, I think Red Passion's what saved the club, giving us that chance to all get together and talk things through and work out strategies and understand, the real situation. And it's a shame that it's deteriorated from there.
Yeah.
It's one of those ones where, like, you mentioned, Chris, like, I can't imagine what they say about us. I did the old Google, and just one of them was like a Red Passion, like, post article, whatever it might be, and someone was really lovely and said, hey, I've checked out these Australian guys, really good. And then some Aussie guy comments under, never heard of them. And it was just like, and I was just like that wasn't mean, it was just they've never heard of him, fair enough. But it was just one of those things where I'm like, all right, time to log off. Like, I was offended by that tiny comment. I can't imagine what I'll see if I keep going.
So look, we got Mansfield coming up, first cup game. I figured I'll get your predictions and a brief the way you guys think this game's going to pan out. I know we drew against Mansfield recently, and Mansfield have shown a bit of form here and there, a little bit patchy, but they're a good side. We'll start with Bill. Bill, how do you see this game going, and what would be your prediction?
I'm going to give you like the boring answer and say a lot of it depends on which team both managers pick, because I don't know how high in the priorities the cup game is for Mansfield, and I know we've got a lot of players that have been sitting around waiting for a chance. And I'm sure Parkinson's going to want to play the likes of Young and Davis for this, just to make sure they're still ticking over fitness wise. I think our squad's deep enough that won't make a difference, but I don't know enough about Mansfield as a whole squad. How Nigel Clough will view the FA Cup. I mean, historically, when he was Burton manager, Mark, he always took the cup really seriously, didn't he? So it could still be they could put quite a strong side out. I mean, my gut would be to say a boring 0-0 draw, because that's how Mansfield seem to play. And just as we don't want to have more fixtures piling up, it's usually the case, Mark, isn't it, that's when fixtures start piling up, don't they?
That's true. I think they're both pretty strong teams, although I think we've got to remember the perspective of a manager in this. Parkinson, I think, would argue that the team he put out a Crew in the EFL Cup trophy, rather, was a strong team. because he has belief in, the whole first team squad. I think I'd throw Ford in as well for a player who needs minutes. He's on the bench on Saturday. Good to see him there, but I think that therefore they'll want to give him minutes from the start on next Saturday. But I just think I respect Mansfield. I think they're very good. I thought they really showed a lot of quality when we played against them, but we defended superbly. It's a proper tough tie for both sides. I think both sides would be disappointed with getting at each other in the draw. I think you're right, Bill. I think we'll take it seriously, but we'll still rotate a bit. So quite unpredictable. I don't like making predictions anyway because I look stupid.
Honestly, I've been wrong every game this season, and I'm just going to keep harping on how I predicted 2-0 against Notts County. So I'm just I'm going to ride that high till the end of the season. So, but I think the big one, like you mentioned, and I hate saying were we expecting when I say a better draw, I mean more of a bigger draw, because I understand, people prefer, and it's something that I've learned, is people would prefer, if they are to go out in that round, they'd rather go out swinging against a bigger club, make it a bigger away day, make it, but when you pull someone from your own league that you've only just recently played, does it take a bit of the magic of the cup out of it, or does it stay the same? What do you reckon, Bill?
Absolutely takes the magic out of it. The worst draw possible is to have an away game against a team you've not long played, who are also good and are in your league.
Yeah.
It's just you're going to play them again at some point in the season, so you don't really care. Mansfield, I'm very indifferent to Mansfield as a club, not in an offensive way, they just exist. They're a similar-ish club to us, but they're doing well, so it's not a great game to play. You either want someone coming up from divisions below who see you as an attractive game, because that gets the atmosphere going, or you want to be playing someone above. I mean, ideally, we could have drawn Chester or Shrewsbury, and that would have been they would have been. Yeah,
I was hoping all
Chester.
hell, just give us fucking Chester.
Would have been good.
Just give it let's just see absolute pandemonium break out, and just.
It wouldn't be the fun kind of pandemonium though. I actually hate those games in a way. You love them, obviously, because you love them because if you win.
It's all right for us. We're Aussies. We've
yeah. We're safe.
I mean, we
sit there with popcorn going, yeah.
I don't think any Chester fans actually exist, so I wouldn't run into any if we lost. But it's just the idea of losing to them is almost worse than the idea of winning, because you're just dreading it all week. Oh God, Here comes that game. The police are going to be on form, shall we say. They're probably going to kick off. We'll kick off. Everyone will be embarrassed afterwards. It's just, nah.
It's a game that I feel like it would have been a game that feels worse losing. Worse? I don't know. It would have felt more terrible losing than it would have felt good winning. Do you know what I mean? You take a win, we expect it. But if we lose, it's heartbreaking.
Maybe not in the past.
In any circumstance, beating Chester feels great.
Yeah.
True.
It does, but at the moment, the way we're playing in our setup and everything, if we win 2-0, people would still not be happy. You could see that being a scenario. No, people would be happy. People would be happy. I just mean it might be, if we got a scrappy 1-0 and we scored early on and the rest of the game we should have put 5 away or something, people would. Wrexham fans are particularly bitter. We'd have come away from that being a bit disappointed. Maybe that's just me. I don't know.
I don't know. I think that if you beat Chester, you're so busy enjoying crowing about it, you don't care how it happened.
Yeah,
personally. Maybe. I mean, shooting fish in a barrel's got a bad name, but if you ever try it, it's great fun. That's where I look at it.
Well. So good. On that note, we're going to bring this episode of Dragonbeards to an end, guys. Thank you for joining us. We're actually ending this right here tonight because this has been the crossover for us. So, thank you for joining us, Mark, Bill. And we're sad we couldn't get the other members of Dragonheart, but it was so worth it. So worth
So
it. I
fun.
can't thank you guys enough for coming on our podcast. And we are definitely going to repay the favor, and you will see us popping up on Dragonheart at some stage, hopefully in the next couple of weeks, maybe. We'll see.
That'd be beautiful.
And so I'm your host, Rousey. That is Adrian. That is Bill. And that is the lovely Mark Griffiths. Guys, thank you. And we'll see you on the next episode of Two Beards.
Nice
Cheers.
one. Can I sing us out with the official crossover theme?
Yeah,
sheet?
go on. Go on.
Yeah, go for it.
With a nod to Angry Anderson.
Go on.
Elliot Lee, every part of me wants to know every part of you. There you go.
Perfect.
Hey.
That's the
All
one.
right, I'm gonna.
Charlene and Jason walking down the aisle right now.
No, that deserves this.
Oh no, Elliot Lee. No, it's everywhere. It's everywhere.
All right. Thank you guys. We'll see you next
Cheers.
week.
Cheers.